I want you to hear me and hear me clearly. There is no tomorrow. We live our lives day by day, clinging to the idea that we've always got more time. Tomorrow I'll be better, you tell yourself. Tomorrow I'll chase that dream. Tomorrow I'll make it right, but the truth is, tomorrow is a lie. It's an illusion. It's the comfort that keeps you sitting still while life passes you by. We often tell ourselves that there's plenty of time to do the things we really want to do. We think I'll start tomorrow or next week I'll get serious, but the truth is, tomorrow is not guaranteed, and next week may never come the way we imagine it. The problem with this mindset is that we fall into a trap of endless procrastination. It's easy to push things off when we believe there's always another day, but in reality, we're just letting time slip through our fingers. Think about the moments you've told yourself you'll wait for a better time. Maybe you were waiting to feel more motivated, more confident, or less afraid of failure. But here's the thing, those feelings rarely come on their own. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for lightning to strike. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Motivation doesn't always come first, action does. When you start moving, when you take the first step, motivation begins to follow. The process fuels itself, but only if you're willing to start. Taking action doesn't mean you have to make a giant leap all at once. It's not about perfection or having everything figured out from the start. It's about taking that first step, even if it's small. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a fitness routine, or making progress toward a career goal, you don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to see the step in front of you and take it. The more you wait, the more overwhelming things can seem. But when you break it down into small, manageable actions, you realize that progress is always within reach. One of the biggest barriers to action is fear. We fear failure. We fear rejection. We fear that we're not good enough. But here's something to consider: fear will always be there. It doesn't go away. Even the most successful people feel fear. But the difference is, they don't let it stop them. They understand that fear is just a natural part of stepping outside their comfort zone. And in fact, it's often a sign that you're on the right path, because if you're not a little bit scared, you're probably not pushing yourself enough. Action doesn't wait for you to be perfectly prepared. The idea that you need to have everything in place before you start is just another form of procrastination. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need all the resources. You don't need to feel 100% ready. What you need is the willingness to start, to experiment, and to learn as you go. The more you do, the more you learn, and the closer you get to where you want to be. Growth happens in the process, not before it begins. Another trap we fall into is the idea of waiting for the right time. We think there will be some magical moment in the future when all the conditions will align and everything will be perfect. But here's the truth: there is no right time. There's only the time you have now. Life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It's happening all around you, constantly moving forward, whether you're prepared or not. If you keep waiting for the stars to align, you'll miss your chance. The right time is when you decide to make it the right time. Think about the opportunities that have passed you by because you were waiting. Think about the things you could have achieved if you had taken action sooner. It's not too late. The beauty of life is that as long as you're still breathing, you have the chance to act. But don't make the mistake of believing that chance will last forever. Every day you wait is a day you could be making progress, a day you could be moving closer to your goals. Action creates momentum. Once you start, even with the smallest step, you set things in motion. The key is to keep going, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. Progress may not be linear, and there will be setbacks along the way. But as long as you keep moving forward, even slowly, you're still moving in the right direction. Momentum builds on itself, and the more you act, the easier it becomes to keep acting. The time you spend thinking about what you want to do is time you could be doing it. Planning has its place, but don't let it become an excuse to delay. You don't need to know the entire journey to begin. You can adjust and adapt along the way. The important thing is that you start, that you take that leap, no matter how small it feels. Waiting for tomorrow to take action only means you're postponing your own growth. The person you want to become, the life you want to live, is waiting on the other side of the actions you take today. So take that first step now, while you still can. We often convince ourselves that we need to wait for the stars to align before we make a move. We think that conditions must be ideal, everything must be in place, and we need to feel completely ready. But the truth is, if you're waiting for perfection, you'll be waiting forever. The perfect moment doesn't exist, and if it did, you'd only recognize it in hindsight. The pursuit of perfection is one of the biggest obstacles to progress, and it keeps us locked in a cycle of inaction. The idea of the perfect moment is comforting because it gives us an excuse not to act. We tell ourselves that if we wait just a little longer, if we wait until circumstances improve, then we'll be in a better position to succeed. But life doesn't work that way. Circumstances are rarely ideal, and there will always be challenges, distractions, or reasons to hold off. If you keep waiting for everything to be perfect, you'll never begin. What we often forget is that progress is messy. It's full of trial and error, missteps, and adjustments. The process itself is imperfect, but that's what makes it real. One of the reasons we chase after the perfect moment is fear of failure. We think that by waiting for just the right time, we can avoid mistakes. We believe that if we wait until everything is just right, we'll guarantee success. But this is an illusion. Mistakes are part of the journey, no matter when or how you start. In fact, those mistakes are often the most valuable parts of the process because they teach us what doesn't work and push us toward what does. By avoiding action in the name of perfection, we're really just avoiding the lessons we need to learn. Another thing that keeps us waiting for the perfect moment is the false belief that we need to have everything figured out before we begin. We tell ourselves that we need more time, more knowledge, more preparation. But preparation is never complete. No matter how much you prepare, there will always be things you don't know, things you can't foresee, and things that will challenge you along the way. You can't anticipate every obstacle, and you can't plan for every possibility. Life is unpredictable, and you have to learn to roll with the punches. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can get started. There's also a tendency to overestimate how much control we have over timing. We think that if we just wait long enough, the perfect opportunity will present itself, and we'll be able to swoop in and seize it. But opportunities don't usually come gift-wrapped. They often show up when we least expect them, and if we're not ready to act, we miss them. By waiting for the perfect moment, we're not positioning ourselves for success, we're simply letting opportunities pass us by. The truth is, opportunities are often created, not found, and they're created through action, not waiting. Life is always going to be full of distractions. There will always be reasons to wait, reasons to hold off, reasons to delay. Maybe it's a busy time at work. Maybe you're going through a personal struggle. Maybe the timing just feels off. But if you wait for all the distractions to disappear, you'll never move forward. Life doesn't pause for you to catch up. It keeps moving whether you're ready or not. The distractions will always be there. The question is, are you willing to push through them and act despite the imperfections? One of the greatest misconceptions is that other people who have succeeded had a perfect moment to start. When we look at their achievements, we often forget about the struggles they face behind the scenes. We see the highlight reel, not the late nights, the doubts, the failures, and the missteps. The reality is, no one starts under perfect conditions. They start with what they have, where they are, and they figure it out as they go. If they had waited for perfection, they'd still be waiting. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the willingness to act in the face of imperfection. The most powerful thing you can do is to start when conditions are not perfect. It forces you to adapt, to be resourceful, and to grow in ways you wouldn't have if everything had been easy. When you take action despite less than ideal circumstances, you build resilience. You learn to work with what you have, and that's a skill that will carry you further than any perfectly laid plan. Growth comes from facing challenges, not avoiding them. The idea of the perfect moment is also tied to our fear of judgment. We're afraid that if we start before we're ready, people will notice our imperfections. But here's the truth: people are not as focused on you as you think they are. Everyone is dealing with their own challenges, their own imperfections, and their own fears. The fear of judgment is often just an excuse to stay comfortable. The reality is, most people admire action, even if it's imperfect. They respect those who are willing to take a chance, to try, to fail, and to keep going. The only person who needs to believe in your timing is you. Waiting for the perfect moment is just a way of staying in your comfort zone. It's safe, it's predictable, and it doesn't challenge you. But nothing grows in comfort. Growth comes from pushing yourself, from stepping into the unknown, from acting when things are messy and unclear. We all have dreams, those big, bold visions of what we want our lives to look like. Maybe it's a career goal, a personal achievement, or something as simple as a desire to live a better, more fulfilled life. But a dream without action is just a fantasy, something that remains locked in your mind without ever becoming real. Too often, people hold on to dreams without ever taking the steps to make them happen, thinking that someday they'll get around to it. But dreams don't work like that. They don't come to life on their own. They require movement, effort, and commitment. It's easy to romanticize dreams. We picture the end result: success, happiness, fulfillment, but we rarely think about the work it takes to get there. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is bridged by action, not hope. Hoping for a better future is nice, but hope alone doesn't change anything. You can't sit back and wait for your dreams to magically fall into place. You have to be an active participant in your own life, putting in the effort that turns dreams into tangible outcomes. That means facing challenges, dealing with setbacks, and persisting even when things get tough. One of the biggest obstacles to taking action is fear. Fear of failure unknown, fear that we might not be good enough. But if you let fear dictate your actions, your dreams will never move beyond the boundaries of your mind. Fear will always be there, lurking in the background. But you can't let it paralyze you. In fact, fear is often a sign that you're on the right track. It means you're pushing beyond your comfort zone and stepping into new territory. The more you face your fears, the more you grow, and the closer you get to realizing your dreams. Action requires discipline. It's not enough to just dream big. You have to be willing to put in the daily work that moves you closer to your goals. It's about showing up, even when you don't feel like it, even when progress seems slow. Many people give up on their dreams because they don't see immediate results, but success is rarely instant. It's the result of consistent, deliberate effort over time. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. The key is to keep moving, to keep pushing forward, even when it feels like nothing is happening. It's important to understand that action isn't always glamorous. It's not always about big, bold moves or dramatic changes. More often than not, it's the small, seemingly insignificant actions that add up over time. It's the daily grind, the repetition, the steady progress that ultimately leads to big results. Dreams require patience as much as they require effort. You have to be willing to invest in the process, even when the outcome feels far away. Every action you take plants a seed, and with enough time and care, those seeds grow into the reality you've been dreaming of. Another reason people struggle to take action on their dreams is that they feel overwhelmed by the size of the goal. It can be intimidating to look at a big dream and not know where to start. But the truth is, you don't need to have everything figured out from the beginning. You just need to start. Break it down into smaller, manageable steps and tackle them one at a time. The journey toward your dreams is made up of countless small actions, and each one brings you closer. Don't focus on the whole mountain, focus on the step right in front of you. Taking action also means embracing failure. Dreams don't come to life without setbacks, mistakes, and moments of doubt. But failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the process. Every failure teaches you something valuable, something you can use to move forward with more wisdom and strength. If you're not willing to fail, you're not ready to succeed. The people who achieve their dreams are the ones who fail repeatedly but refuse to quit. They learn, adapt, and keep going. Every setback is a stepping stone, not a dead end. Dreams require persistence. There will be days when progress feels slow, when doubt creeps in, and when the temptation to give up is strong. But those are the moments that test your commitment. Anyone can dream, but not everyone has the grit to follow through. It's easy to get excited about a dream at the beginning, but staying the course when the road gets tough is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Persistence is about showing up, again and again, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how hard the path gets. Action also involves making sacrifices. Achieving your dreams often means giving up something in the short term to gain something in the long term. It might mean sacrificing your comfort, your free time, or even your security. But those sacrifices are necessary if you want to move forward. You can't hold on to everything and expect to achieve something great. Sometimes you have to let go of what's holding you back, even if it's comfortable or familiar. Sacrifice isn't easy, but it's part of the price you pay for turning your dreams into reality. Dreams without action are just fantasies, ideas that will never see the light of day. Taking action is the only way to bring them to life. It's about committing to the process, no matter how long or difficult the journey may be. Dreams require you to move, to step forward, and to keep going even when the path isn't clear. Without action, even the biggest dreams are destined to remain just that, dreams. Every second that passes is a second you can never get back. Time is the one resource that is constantly slipping away, whether you're aware of it or not. We often live as though we have an unlimited supply, telling ourselves that there will always be more time to do the things we want, to pursue our dreams, to make changes. But the truth is, time is finite, and once it's gone for good. The clock is always ticking, and every moment wasted is a moment lost forever. Most of us fall into the trap of thinking that we have plenty of time to do everything we plan to achieve. We push things off to tomorrow, next week, next year, all while believing that the time will eventually come when we'll get around to it. But tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Life is unpredictable, and while we're waiting, time is slipping through our fingers. There is no pause button, no way to slow it down. Every day that goes by without taking action is a day you'll never get back, a day that could have brought you closer to your goals. One of the biggest mistakes we make is underestimating how fast time passes. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and before we know it, years have gone by. We look back and wonder where all that time went, what we did with it, and why we didn't make more of it. But reflection comes too late. The future we thought was so far away has already arrived, and with it, the realization that we could have done more with the time we had. The question is, what are you going to do with the time that remains? Time doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't care if you're scared, uncertain, or unprepared. It moves forward regardless of your hesitation. And that's why waiting for the perfect moment, or waiting until you feel more confident, is dangerous. The longer you wait, the more time you lose. There will never be a perfect moment, just like there will never be a time when everything lines up exactly the way you want it to. You have to act in spite of the imperfections, because time won't slow down to accommodate your doubts or your fears. We often talk about the value of money, but time is far more precious. Money can be earned, lost, and earned again. But time, once spent, is gone forever. You can't earn more of it, and you can't trade it in for more when you run out. That's why wasting time is such a costly mistake. Every hour, every minute, every second that slips by without purpose is something you can never get back. Yet we're often careless with it, treating it like an endless resource when, in reality, it's the most limited thing we have. Many people don't realize the urgency of time until it's almost too late. Whether it's reaching a certain age, facing a major life change, or experiencing a personal crisis, there comes a point when you begin to understand just how fast time is moving. You look around and realize that all the things you thought you had time for are slipping out of reach. And it's in those moments that you wish you had started sooner, done more, taken advantage of the time when you had it. But time doesn't offer second chances. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's a saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. This applies to almost everything in life. If you haven't been making the most of your time, the worst thing you can do is continue to wait. The longer you delay, the more time you lose, and the harder it becomes to catch up. Time has a way of slipping away faster the longer you wait, and before you know it, the opportunities you once had will be gone. The key is to stop wasting the time you have left and start using it wisely. One of the reasons time slips away from us is that we spend too much of it on things that don't matter. We get caught up in distractions, in routines that don't serve us, in habits that drain our energy and focus. And while we're busy doing things that don't bring us closer to our goals, time keeps moving. It's easy to lose hours, days, even years to things that ultimately don't contribute to our growth or happiness. If you're not careful, you'll look back and realize that you spent most of your time on things that didn't matter. The biggest regret most people have is not what they did, but what they didn't do. It's the opportunities they missed, the dreams they didn't chase, the chances they didn't take. And the reason they didn't take those chances is often because they thought they had more time. They believed there would be another day, another opportunity, another moment to start. But time doesn't always offer those second chances. The window of opportunity closes faster than we think, and by the time we're ready to act, it's often too late. Time is the one thing that is always moving, always ticking away, whether we're paying attention to it or not. The clock doesn't stop for anyone, and the more aware we are of its passage, the more intentional we need to be with how we use it. Every moment counts, and the way you spend your time will determine the kind of life you live. The question isn't whether time is moving, it's how you're moving with it. Fear is something that everyone encounters at some point in their life, especially when stepping into the unknown or chasing something bigger than themselves. It doesn't matter how confident or strong a person seems, fear is a universal experience. And the truth is, if you're not feeling any fear, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. Fear is a natural response to growth, to stepping outside of your comfort zone, and it often shows up when you're on the verge of something important. But here's the thing, fear is not the enemy. It's part of the journey, a signal that you're moving towards something meaningful. Many people think that fear is a sign they should stop, that it means they're not ready or that they're heading in the wrong direction. But the opposite is often true. Fear doesn't mean you should turn back. In fact, it often means you're right where you need to be. The discomfort that fear brings is a sign that you're stretching, growing, and pushing your boundaries. It's an invitation to move forward, to face what's in front of you, and to keep going despite the uncertainty. Fear is a companion on the journey, but it doesn't have to be a roadblock. The journey toward anything worthwhile is rarely easy. It's filled with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Fear is a constant companion during these moments, but it doesn't have to control the path you take. Too many people allow fear to dictate their decisions, staying in their comfort zones because it feels safer there. But comfort zones are stagnant places. They don't offer growth or fulfillment. The only way to reach your potential is by embracing fear and moving through it. The presence of fear doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. It means you care about the outcome. One of the biggest misconceptions about fear is that it's something to be eliminated before you can take action. People think they need to wait until they feel fearless or until the fear goes away before they start moving forward. But fear doesn't disappear just because you're pursuing your dreams or striving for success. It lingers even when you're doing the right thing. The key is not to wait for fear to go away, but to act in spite of it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward even when fear is present. Fear can actually be a guide. It shows you where you need to grow, where you're being stretched, and where you're being called to step up. Instead of seeing fear as something negative, try to reframe it as a sign that you're on the right track. When fear shows up, it's often because you're stepping into something bigger than yourself, something that requires you to evolve. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, but it also means you're doing something significant. The people who achieve great things are not the ones who never feel fear, but the ones who don't let it stop them. The path of growth, of pursuing your dreams, is often a lonely one at times, because not everyone will understand your journey. There will be moments when fear feels overwhelming, when the road ahead looks too uncertain. But it's in those moments that you must trust the process. Fear is a part of that process, and learning to live with it is part of what makes you stronger. The more you face your fears, the more you realize that they are not as powerful as they seem. Each time you confront fear and move forward, you build resilience and confidence in yourself. What many people don't realize is that fear doesn't just protect you from failure, it can also hold you back from success. Fear of failure is common, but there's also fear of success. Fear of what happens when you actually achieve what you're chasing. What will change? How will people react? What new responsibilities will you have? These questions can create just as much anxiety as the fear of not making it. But whether it's fear of failure or fear of success, the result is the same: it keeps you stuck. The key is to recognize that fear will always be there, no matter what you're chasing, and to keep moving forward anyway. The journey is full of ups and downs, and fear shows up in both the highs and the lows. When you're succeeding, fear can sneak in, telling you that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve your success, or that it's all going to fall apart. And when you're facing setbacks, fear tells you that you should give up, that it's not worth it, that you'll never make it. But fear lies. It tries to convince you to stay small, to play it safe, to avoid taking risks. And if you listen to it, you'll never know what you're truly capable of. Facing fear doesn't mean it will go away forever. It will come back, sometimes when you least expect it. But each time it does, you'll be stronger, more equipped to handle it, because you faced it before. The more you confront your fears, the less power they have over you. Fear may never disappear, but it will stop being the thing that controls your decisions. Instead of running from it, you'll learn to coexist with it, to recognize it for what it is: a natural part of the journey, but not the end of the road. The truth is, fear will always be a part of the process. It will show up at every stage of the journey, from the beginning when you're just starting out, to the middle when things get tough, to the end when you're on the brink of achieving your dreams. But it's not something to be avoided. It's something to be understood and accepted. Fear is part of what makes the journey meaningful, because it challenges you, forces you to grow, and makes the victories that much sweeter. Every action you take today, every choice you make, is laying the foundation for the life you'll live tomorrow. It's easy to forget that, especially when life feels mundane or when the daily grind becomes overwhelming. But the truth is, what you do now has a direct impact on what your future will look like. Whether you're building good habits, making sacrifices, or working toward a goal, each step counts. The future isn't something that just happens to you, it's something you create, one decision at a time. The seeds you plant today determine the harvest you'll reap tomorrow. The problem is that too many people live as if today doesn't matter. They go through the motions, thinking that they'll get serious about their goals later, that they'll focus on what's important someday. But someday isn't guaranteed. The choices you put off today are the opportunities you miss tomorrow. Whether it's investing time in a skill, nurturing relationships, or taking care of your health, every day matters. The small actions you take now, no matter how insignificant they seem, are shaping the person you'll become and the life you'll have. Each day is a building block in the structure of your future. It's easy to underestimate the power of a single day. You might think, it's just one day. I'll start tomorrow. But the truth is, the cumulative effect of those days adds up. One day turns into a week into a month, and before you know it, an entire year has passed without any real progress. Every time you decide to put something off, you're pushing your future further out of reach. On the other hand, when you use today wisely, when you focus on the actions that will move you forward, you bring that future closer. Today is the only day you truly have control over, and what you do with it matters more than you realize. What you do today is not just about reaching long-term goals, it's about who you become in the process. Every decision you make shapes your character, your discipline, and your mindset. If you're putting in the work today, even when it's hard, you're training yourself to be resilient, focused, and determined. If you're taking shortcuts or avoiding effort, you're conditioning yourself to do the same tomorrow. The habits you form today, whether good or bad, will follow you into the future. If you want to be successful tomorrow, you need to act with intention today. Time doesn't stand still. The minutes and hours you have right now are passing, whether you're using them wisely or not. And the more you wait to take action, the more opportunities you let slip by. The future is built on a series of now moments. You can either let them go to waste, or you can seize them and use them to your advantage. It's easy to get caught up in thinking about the future as something distant and far off, but the reality is that tomorrow is shaped by what you do right now. Every decision you make, every action you take is setting the stage for what comes next. Too often, people focus on what they want in the future without realizing that the future is the result of their daily actions. You can dream about success. You can visualize the life you want. But if your actions today don't align with those dreams, they will never come to fruition. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with the work you put in today. Dreams require action, and that action must start now, not tomorrow, not next week. The life you want won't magically appear one day. It's something you have to create through consistent effort. Even when it feels like today doesn't matter, when progress seems slow or invisible, understand that every small step you take is part of the bigger picture. Growth and success are not always visible in the moment, but they accumulate over time. Every time you show up, every time you push through difficulty, you're moving closer to your goals. The results may not be immediate, but they will come. The effort you put in today might not pay off tomorrow, but it will eventually. That's why it's so important to keep going, to keep pushing, because today's work is building tomorrow's success. The hardest part about focusing on today is dealing with distractions. The world is full of things that pull you away from your goals, from mindless entertainment to obligations that don't serve your long-term vision. It's easy to get sidetracked, to let your attention drift from what really matters. But distractions are one of the biggest threats to your future. Every moment you spend on something that doesn't align with your goals is time you could have spent building the life you want. It's crucial to guard your time and stay focused on what will actually move you forward. Another challenge people face is the feeling that their efforts today won't make a difference in the long run. It's easy to think that one workout, 1 hour of studying, or 1 day of focused work won't change anything. But success is built on the accumulation of these seemingly small actions. It's the consistent daily effort that leads to long-term results. Every time you choose to take action, even when it feels insignificant, you're reinforcing a habit, building momentum, and creating a pattern of behavior that will shape your future. Don't underestimate the power of today's effort, no matter how small it may seem. Today is the only thing you can control. You can't change the past, and the future is uncertain. But you have today, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. Every decision you make today is shaping the reality you'll live in tomorrow. The future is not something that just happens to you. It's something you create through your actions, your discipline, and your commitment. The more intentional you are with your time and efforts today, the more control you have over what your tomorrow will look like.